Hello YouTube, Ma'alob Ki'in, which means hello there in Yucatec Maya language. You've probably heard about the Maya calendar, the ancient civilization of pre-Columbian America. That was Maya. Do you remember how in 2012 everybody waited, at least some people, for the end of the world allegedly predicted by the Maya priests? Nothing happened, of course. And scientists explained that, in fact, in the calendar, it was about the change of two epochs or eras. One ended and the other one began. And they interpreted everything as the end of the world. Well, there are still many secrets of the Maya calendar. The authors of an article just published in the Cambridge University Journal, they claim to have the solution. The Maya had amazing astronomical knowledge for all time and were able to make the most complex calculations about the movements of the planets in the sky, solar and lunar eclipses. For many years, modern astronomers and archaeologists have been trying to understand what meaning the ancient scientists put into their calendar of 819 days. It is based on the movement of the planets of the solar system, those that are visible to the naked eye: Venus, Mars, Mercury, Saturn, and Jupiter. And as far as we know, the Maya, they didn't have telescopes. However, the synodic periods of the planets, the so-called period of time between two connections of the same planet with the moon, when viewed from Earth, well, they did not fit into this 819-day calendar cycle, so there was an inconsistency. Well, it seems that John Linden and Victoria Bricker from Tulane University in the United States managed to put together a puzzle, so to say. Everything turned out to be more complicated than previously thought. The idea is as follows. The calendar of 819 days should be considered not by itself, but as part of a longer cycle. It consists of 20 identical 819-day periods, a total of 16,380 days. In our usual system, that would be 45 years. And then everything fits together. Moreover, for every planet known in the time of the Maya, the heyday of this civilization falls on the years 250 to 900 years of our era, our common era, or AD to some people. Okay? Mercury, the synodic period of 117 days is 7 periods during one 819-day cycle. Mars, the synodic period is 780 days, which at first glance has nothing to do with 819-day calendar, but 16,380 days is exactly 21 synodic periods of Mars. A similar logic works with Venus, Saturn, and Jupiter. It turns out that ancient astronomers created a calendar that combines knowledge about the planets. And it's not the only one. By the way, the Maya also had a familiar 365-day year based on the solar calendar, Ha'ab. And the Tzolkin calendar consists of 20 periods of 13 days for predictions and rituals. They were connected in a 52-year cycle. In general, that's how cunningly, how smartly everything was wrapped up, that scientists still cannot figure it out with the help of more modern computers. The Maya used as many as 3 calendars. The civil calendar, or Ha'ab, included 18 months of 20 days each, a total of 360 days in it. For ceremonial purposes, the Tzolkin was used, in which there were 20 months of 13 days each, and the entire cycle thus was 260 days. Together they made up a single complex and long calendar, which contained information about the movements of planets and constellations. There was no beginning or end in the calendars. Time for the Maya went in circle Everything was repeated over and over again. There was no such thing as the end of the year for them, only the rhythm of planetary cycles. And I already told you what the scientists in Cambridge have provided as the explanation. There are many wonders of Maya civilization. There is no evidence, for example, that Maya had aircraft or vehicles, cars, but they definitely had a complex system of paved roads. The Maya also possessed advanced astronomical knowledge about the movement of celestial bodies. Perhaps the most striking proof of this is the dome-roofed building called El Caracol on the Yucatan Peninsula. El Caracol is better known as the observatory. This is a tower about 15 meters high with numerous windows that allow you to observe the equinoxes and the summer solstice. The building is oriented to the orbit of Venus. The bright planet was of great importance to the Maya, and it is believed that their sacred calendar Tzolkin was also built on the basis of the movement of Venus across the sky. According to the Maya calendar, the time of celebration, crops, sacrifices, and wars was determined. It is difficult to understand the history and origin of the Maya. Thanks to the superstitious Spanish conquistadores, they burned almost the entire written history, mistaking the library for strange magical symbols. Only 3 documents survived: Madrid, Dresden, and Paris, which are named after the cities where they ended up. The pages of these codices describe ancient cities that perished from earthquakes, floods, and fires. These cities are not located in the mainland North America. There are vague hints that they were somewhere in the ocean. One of the interpretations of the codes says that the Maya came from a place that is now, and during their heyday, disappeared under the water. They were even mistaken for the children of Atlantis, having spent some time in Yucatan during the last 30+ years doing independent field research. I urge you to believe the Maya. The first Maya settlements appeared in the first millennium before Common Era, or BC, and one of the most highly developed ancient civilization reached its heyday in the 300 to 900 Common Era, or AD, around 850. After several centuries of prosperity and domination of the Maya, for reasons not fully clarified by science, they began to leave their cities one by one. By the time the Spanish conquerors appeared, civilization was already in deep decline. In the chronology of the development of Mesoamerica, the Maya culture occupies an intermediate position between the earlier Olmec and later Aztec civilizations. The Aztecs learned a lot from their predecessors, including the same calendar. Archaeologists have discovered thousands of ancient Maya cities on the territory of Yucatan Peninsula in southern Mexico, as well as Belize and Guatemala. One of the most important cities, Tikal, included in the UNESCO World Heritage List, is located in Guatemala, and the largest and most famous of the ancient Maya cities of Chichen Itza, it's in Mexico. It's a wonderful site. If you ever have a chance to get to that land, visit it. The Maya did not know the central government. Their civilization consisted of many city-states. Another legendary Mesoamerican city, Teotihuacan, whose ruins are located near Mexico City, flourished in the Maya era, but does not belong to this civilization. Teotihuacan was a multi-ethnic city-state, and the elite of the Maya people lived here or were just visiting. Moreover, about 378 Common Era, Teotihuacan conquered Tikal despite the long period of good neighborly relations that preceded it. The Maya used the only written language known in the entire history of Mesoamerica. It's referred to as Maya hieroglyphs, and I have done a video about the Soviet scientist who discovered Maya writings. A very bright man he was, and I'll put a link about him in the description to this video. Don't miss it. And I'll also put some links to my other videos about Yucatan, about some of the research I did and some other phenomena basically that is found there. The Maya built monumental buildings made of stone, limestone, wood, and volcanic glass, as well as roads with smooth and dense stone pavement comparable to asphalt. But apparently they didn't know metal. One of the most famous legacies of civilization is the Maya pyramids. In shape, they resemble the Egyptian pyramids, but their purpose is different. The Maya pyramids are places of worship, not tombs. It was here that ritual sacrifices were performed. The bloody rite was supposed to guarantee a high harvest, protect from hurricanes, grant victory over enemies. Well, historians still do not agree on how bloodthirsty the Maya priests were. Some scientists are of the opinion that human sacrifice was a rather rare phenomenon and was used only in extreme cases. Others are sure that the representatives of the Maya people did this regularly, sacrificing children, even newborns. But whatever it was, the presence of ritual bloodletting among the Maya and the extraction of a still beating heart from the captives is a proven and definitely not an isolated fact. The most famous pyramid is dedicated to the supreme Maya god Kukulkan. He was considered the god of wind and water, fire and air, the founder of royal dynasties and large cities. The pyramid of Kukulkan rises among the ruins of Chichen Itza in Mexico. Its height is 24 meters, 365 steps lead up from four sides. Following the books, the conquistadors destroyed the lion's share of Maya works of art, but a fairly large number of sculptures of ancient Indians have survived to this day. Most often these are monumental reliefs and steles depicting deities. An amazing feature of the Maya sculpture is the mandatory installation date stamped on the monument. For historians, such pedantry is just a godsend. I'm sure much more is being saved in the jungles. Yeah, modern archaeology will be able to find a lot of things. But unless you want to risk your life, don't go into the jungle by yourself without the goodwill of the local people who most likely will not even want to speak to you because they want to preserve their treasures, so to say, their cultural heritage that had been stolen in many ways and smuggled outside of Mexico. And I talk about it in some of my other videos, but I would caution you to be very careful if you want to do harm to the Maya people. Let's leave it at that. The most likely cause of the collapse of the Maya civilization for the mainstream scientist is climate change. During the several centuries immediately preceding the decline, this period like from 250 to 800 Common Era or AD is called the Classic. The ancient civilization flourished at that time. Meteorological research data obtained from the analysis of cave formations showed that at that time heavy rains fell in areas inhabited by Maya Indians. But according to the same data, starting from about 820 CE for almost 100 years, these areas were constantly hit by severe drought, which sometimes lasted up to several decades. At the same time, it is known that most of the Maya cities of the classical era were deserted between 850 and 125 Common Era, which coincides quite accurately with the dry period. The Maya civilization survived the drought, the absence of water, only in northern Yucatan Peninsula, and even began to flourish again after its demise in the 10th century. But the next century brought the worst drought in the 2,000 years period. After this blow, the Maya civilization was not destined to recover. At the end of the 9th century, Maya cities began to mysteriously die out. Then a series of droughts hit the Yucatan Peninsula in southeastern Mexico and North Central America. Previously, scientists believed that the Maya were mainly dependent on corn, beans, and zucchini, sensitive to drought. Therefore, it became the main reason for the collapse of the ancient civilization. But a new analysis conducted by archaeologist Scott Fedek and plant physiologist Luis Santiago from UCR showed that there were about 500 edible plants in the culinary arsenal of the Maya, and many of them were resistant to drought. Even in the most extreme drought conditions, at least 59 species of edible flora would help the Maya to survive, according to Luis Santiago, including cassava with its edible tubers. Also, woody spinach, chaya, is a perennial shrub up to 6 meters high, endemic to the Yucatan Peninsula. Its leaves secrete milk juice. They are rich in protein, iron, potassium, and calcium. In short, woody spinach and cassava combined could already provide the Maya with a huge amount of carbohydrates and proteins. Researchers have compiled a list of Maya plants based on years of research on their eating habits, and then they checked 497 species from the list from drought resistance. When botanists study drought tolerance, they usually talk about a specific plant or a specific ecosystem, according to Scott Fedek. However, in this study, the entire edible flora of civilization came to the attention of scientists, including annual and perennial plants, trees, domesticated and wild species. And it was a unique undertaking. So, it's worth looking for other reasons. It may not be all climate related, as we're being told. Anyway, researchers do not have a clear answer to the question of why the society of the ancient Maya collapsed, but they suspect that social and economic shocks played an important role in this. A new study has demonstrated the importance of eating various plants for survival in conditions of drought and climate change. Even in such extreme conditions, maintaining the diversity of drought-resistant crops will allow people, both ancient and modern, to adapt and survive, Luis Santiago concluded. Now, the results of the study were published in the journal Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. Now, until recently, most historians agreed with the estimate of the population of the Maya civilization at 5 million people. That's according to Francisco Estrada Belli, professor of archaeology at the Tulane University, whose group has been excavating the ancient city of Holmul in Guatemala since the year 2000. And he told it to the National Geographic magazine. Now, with new knowledge, we understand how wrong we were. The number of Maya was at least 10 to 15 million people at its peak, approximately 250 to 900 years of the Common Era. This civilization covered an area about twice the size of medieval England. But at the same time, the Maya state was much more densely populated. We were hostages of our Western conceit, believing that highly developed civilizations could not thrive in the tropics. For us, the tropics have always been a place where civilizations die, admitted Marcello Canuto, an archaeologist of the Tulane University, one of the project participants. However, LIDAR data convinced that the ancient Maya, who did not know wheels and did not have draft animals, could literally move mountains. Only now scientists have been able to assess the branching of the network of bulk roads. The Maya raised them above the surface of the earth to ensure free movement even during the rainy season. These were complex structures. They were part of a giant system of canals, dams, and reservoirs. Such transport and economic infrastructure connected almost all Maya cities and was actively used for trade or military operations. Scientists were also impressed by the scale of the construction of military structures, defensive ramparts, walls, and fortresses. New discoveries were made thanks to the use of revolutionary technology for scanning the Earth's surface using LIDAR, light detection and ranging. Scientists from the University of Cincinnati have found that in the city of Tikal, the Maya Indians created complex water purification systems from natural materials. Researchers have found evidence of filtration in the Corriental Reservoir on the territory of modern Guatemala. A team of researchers discovered crystalline quartz and zeolite in a reservoir near which Maya tribes used to live. These two minerals form a natural molecular sieve, which is still used in modern drinking water purification systems. The researchers say that such natural filters made it possible to purify the water from harmful microbes, nitrogen-saturated compounds, heavy metals, for example mercury, and other toxins. Kenneth Barnett Tankersley, lead author of the study, said, "It is interesting that this system can still be effective today, and the Maya knew about it more than 2,000 years ago." In their work, which is published in the journal Scientific Reports, scientists emphasize that the Maya created this water purification system long before such systems began to be used in Europe. Technologies for collecting and storing clean water were crucial for the Maya. Tikal, like other Indian cities, was built on a mountain with a high content of limestone. This made it difficult to access drinking water for most of the year during droughts. Being in such difficult natural conditions, the Maya brought materials for water purification from the slopes of the mountains, which were 30 kilometers from Tikal. Now, only 4 books of ancient Maya have survived to this day, and once they numbered in thousands. As I said, most of them perished during the colonization era, which, on the orders of the Catholic priests, the Spaniards burned Maya records indiscriminately. Writings carved in stone have been preserved. Mexican archaeologists have managed to decipher inscriptions dating back to the reign of the strongest Maya dynasties in the city of Cobe. The research had been carried out by scientists from the National Institute of Anthropology and Archaeology of Mexico for the past 10 plus years. The dynasty ruled in Cobe for about 300 years. The period of their reign fell on 500 to 700 years of Common Era. The city of Cobe is located on the Yucatan Peninsula in the Mexican state of Quintana Roo. During the heyday of the Maya civilization, it was one of the largest cities on the peninsula. The ruins of numerous structures are still preserved in Cobe. Some of them have inscriptions that researchers have only managed to decipher now. In their opinion, we're talking about the names of 14 rulers of a powerful dynasty. The name of its founder is Junpik. Scientists have translated his name as the one with 8,000 flints. It is noteworthy that among the rulers of the dynasty, there was also a woman whose name was Isikyopat. See, the researchers did not fully decipher her name. She ruled the city for 40 years at the beginning of the 7th century. This fact is not quite typical for the Maya. Although stories are known and such examples There are still, but not many. Archaeologists have deciphered in whole or in part other names: Katachitama, Ushman, Kaviel, Yopata, Chajnaja, Kahka, Kalomte, and Xaman Kaviel. Koba remained a significant center until about 1000 Common Era, and then until the arrival of the Spanish conquerors around 1550, it had somewhat ritual significance. When the conquistadores came to the territory of modern Mexico, the local population left the city. Let me tell you something else. In 1964, an unusual Maya document was found, created from the bark of a tree and containing images of Venus. The codex was considered by many to be a fake. Critics have said that it is different from any other known Maya codex and is too simplistic to be real. It changed hands several times until 1974, when an antique collector donated it to the Mexican authorities to establish its authenticity. Years passed and many continued to doubt the so-called Maya code. Although it was indeed ancient, it was a stolen artifact, meaning that there was not the slightest clue as to where it was found. Without such valuable information, its simplistic and unique style, which did not seem to belong to the Maya, scholars continue to believe that the codex was fake. However, in 2018, everyone was shocked. Tests showed that the document was not only authentic, but also the oldest pre-Hispanic manuscript in the Americas. It was compiled between 1021 and 1154 Common Era. Usually people are firmly convinced that all the Maya as a people have disappeared, as if all the representative of a multi-million civilization just took or up and died overnight. In fact, the number of modern Maya is about 6 million people, which makes them the largest indigenous tribe in North America. The modern Maya are a fairly numerous people. Yes, most of the Maya live in Mexico, Belize, and Guatemala. For the most part, the Maya did not die, but for some reason, they had to abandon their huge cities. Since most of the early history of the Maya is lost, it is unknown why they suddenly stopped building large buildings, holding ceremonies, and doing science. There are several hypotheses. Because of a long, severe drought, crops could have burned down, or there were too many Maya, or there was a war and famine. All that is really known is that in 1524, the Maya began to form small agricultural communities and abandoned cities. Their descendants still live, of course, as I mentioned before, what areas, but they hardly remember anything about the past of their people, and if they do remember, they're unlikely to tell. Many people don't realize that the Maya language is still very much alive. They believe that these are just hieroglyphs carved on cave walls and on the stone steles that disappeared along with ancient communities such as Chichen Itza and Tulum. Well, the Maya language is very much alive, and as far as I know, there are 32 Maya languages originating from the Yucatec Maya, and they're spoken by more than 5 million people from the Yucatan Peninsula to Chiapas, and further along Belize, Guatemala, and Honduras. In Quintana Roo and throughout the Yucatan Peninsula, approximately 700,000 people still speak the Maya language. Foreigners call it Maya Yucatec or Yucatec Maya, and the local just Maya. It's a very interesting land and people, and I'm sure we're in store for tremendous discoveries. Just remember about the underwater cities and the fixation on the planet Venus. So I'll tell you Dios Bootik, which means thank you for your attention to my work, and I will continue bringing you my research about our planet, about the paranormal phenomena, And not only that, Eurasia, Southern Africa, Yucatan, and other areas of our planet. Please subscribe to my channel. Please tell others about it. And please like my videos.